Personally, I'm very moved to be here. It's such an honor to be here with you in this community that is quite amazing, and I have much appreciation for the organizers of this conference. It's an amazing opportunity to gather all of us and see this community and the tradition that it has. In the short time I have, I will take the time to tell you how AFAT sees itself in the national level in promoting the RPV. And first, let me tell you a bit about MAFAT. First of all, it's an organization that has to do with technology, that knows how to perform big projects, that knows how to work a lot with suppliers, with companies, that sees itself as part of this national mixture. And we have seen the MAFAT's contribution to also dealing with COVID-19. And of course, we know how to create opportunities and cooperations internationally in technological areas. And the middle is the amount of Israel prize for defense is not here for the 26, right? It's quite impressive. It's not here incidentally. I can tell you that without going into details, that some of the community here has shared the honor in the president's home and received the prize of Israel, which was not the first time this community was recognized like this, and this means much. In one word, what is MAFAT's main mission? MAFAT is first about maintaining our technological cutting-edge abilities. We want to be able to win, to strike if we are required to do so, and this is based on R&D, on the national infrastructure in the technological domain. And if I look at the organizational structure, which tells you part of the story of how we see where we stand, and there's this clutch where we are in between the MOD and IDF, it's part of a strength as military people to know very well what are the needs, the operational needs, and at the same time also to know how to use all the different mechanisms, the government mechanism, and MAFAT is under both MOD and IDF. And seeing who are the different institutions that are taking part when it comes to RPV, UAS. So we have the administrations that have a lot of voice here. MAFAT was chosen as an institution that doesn't have much bureaucracy and is able to deal with all these different mechanisms and bring theory to practice. We have 3 different units like that. And we have the hard defense and we have the UAS defense, and this is what you see here in the dotted lines. I will elaborate more in the next slide. There are other divisions also with a pre-level of R&D and a whole branch dealing with UASs. And at the same time, you can see the new teams that are now developing and is taking the land robotics and UASs a couple of steps forward. And there's an amazing cooperation here. And we're trying to show you how MAFAT is built and where we stand here is part of our advantage that we can bring the national growth in the field of UASs. It starts at the very bottom of basic research and cooperation with the academy and the different research institutions in Israel and in the world with a unit called MATAT. And based on that, we look at the second level with our R&D unit and its different divisions. And on the top of that, we have the top level, top of the pyramid, that is already about, that also administers the UASs, and that's obviously a very important unit. So looking at the growth engines in the UAS domain, we have all experienced this revolution moving from UAV to UAS. Right, not the V vehicle, but as a system. We are not talking anymore about the vehicle. We're talking about the entirety of the system. What is a UAS? Is it remotely piloted, right? Another term is the RPV, RPA, etc. So it's not anymore just another aircraft. It's a whole complex system. And these systems are based on many different technical components, and we're based on startups, on growth engines, and I can tell you the names of some of them. We had representatives from Dell and from other companies, and we need to be able to feel this domain, and we need to know how to create the AI in order to create autonomy, in order to make decisions, in order to lower the human resources needed. So that's another growth engine that is really connected to the whole world of UASs. We're talking about it. There's the energy that is very critical, because we're talking about remotely piloted vehicles and aircrafts. We want them to be able to go to have a high endurance, for higher and higher along with time. And there's the 3D printing field that is allowing us an amazing upgrade to our tools, to a toolbox, to be able to manufacture very, very quickly, whether we're talking about manufacturing parts that are lightweight or parts that are very complex. And so that's also a very important field that is connected to UAS. There's the question of cyber. I might go back to it, but we are demanded in Israel to work in a very complex arena. We need to be able to know how to allow ourselves the system endurance that we've all experienced, the jamming and blockage. So we need to be able to work together in the different aerial spaces, and we need to be able to interconnect with each other. And of course, this is also another very important level, because at the end of the day, the control over these different systems is done through communication. So all of these things, taking all of this technology, this growing emerging technology throughout all these levels I mentioned in Mafat and throughout the national, in Israel, all in all, and turn those into products. Looking forward, this should be a national infrastructure that maintains the technological advantage of Israel and of IDF in this field. So some of the lectures had to do with the cooperation and the fact that the military and defense have led R&D in the past. And I think that this balance is now turning, and it's becoming more and more civilian. With investments, we heard a lot about that today, right? They are now coming into the aerial world, and we need to be able to appropriate and use these very valuable properties. And we need to know how to be able to manufacture dualism or dual manufacturing. So these two worlds, civilian and military, will be able to combine. So in this space, we have a lot of different moving parts in the CC, the control and command, and we need to be able to contribute and to use these parts, and also relate to other requirements within this space. When I'm talking about the administration of the UASs, what is our strategy? First of all, we know how to act on different spaces and different systems at the same time. And the long term, we are looking at least 1 decade, if not two, ahead. A couple of years ago, we finished a mapping. It was UAS 2030. Now we are starting the mapping, the road mapping for UAS 2035. So this is my prism looking far into the future. 5 years forward into the future at least. This is how we work. So these are the different kinds of roadmaps that we're able to create. We know how to deal with the different challenges in an ever-changing arena. We've spoken about cyber. We've spoken about other spaces such as Tuskantaka and different arenas. We need to be able to operate in those, and the way they are affected, and also affect Israel. And we are part of this event. We know how to be affected and also how to affect. And I think this was also mentioned in previous lectures, all of this thing, which is a unique array. It's all Israeli. So I'm very proud of it, both as a military man and as a civilian. And I know that there are also many other representatives of these two worlds. How do we do that? Neri talked about that, I think, when he opened. So first of all, the borders are now becoming blurry. It's not just the IAF leading this anymore, but of course the consumer that is leading this, yes, but we also see that the Marines are also leading and using some of these tools, and there are corporations not only within IDF, but also in this world we have representatives from other systems, and this is reflected in the corporations that are very meaningful with other parts of the IDF, but not only within Israel, but also different air forces of other countries, and this is very meaningful. It's an organization that does not have many interests, to know how to gather everybody into one space and talk about the mutual needs and mutual requirements. This is one space, and another space is creating architectures that allow interoperability, and this is not only about sharing different tasks also, but I think that the arena is ever-changing, and that requires us to give very complex responses. And how do we do that in this very complex arena with different abilities that are filling this space with different spectrums? And if we don't know how to put all of this together using the interoperability and the arena, then we will not be able to completely make use of this arena. And this is what reality is asking us to do. So we will need to know how to use this architecture, and we will need to know how to react quickly. This arena is ever changing very, very quickly, and alongside our ability to plan ahead for 10, 20 years ahead, on the other hand, we need to be able to have versatile abilities that will allow us to respond quickly to an ever-changing arena and to react appropriately. So another thing that is very meaningful is the competition here that is very healthy in some places. And there are abilities, and I'm very close to finishing, abilities that are technological on the one hand, and on the other hand, it makes us look at the arena through a very small view, and also from is like zoom in and zoom out. And we talked about corporations, and also previous speakers spoke about those, and I'm closing up. The mayor of Yeruham spoke here before, and she talked about David Ben-Gurion, and I can't finish my lecture in a better way than to mention this, where we come from and what's our strength. So one time it's innovation, but another time it's the scientific infrastructure. This is the essence. This is where we put our efforts in order to keep growing in the UAS field. This is part of our portfolio, both military and civilian. Thank you very much.